There's this moment that happens when you're scrolling through social media and you see someone talking about financial freedom. They're standing in front of a nice car, or on a beach somewhere, or in a perfectly curated home office, and they're telling you about wealth, about passive income, about building your empire, about getting to $1 million. And somewhere inside you, something deflates, because $1 million feels like Mars. It's not that you don't want it. It's that you can't even picture the path from where you are to there. So you close the app and go back to worrying about things that actually feel urgent, like whether you can afford to fix your brakes this month or next. Here's the problem with the way we talk about money. We've confused the destination with the doorway. We've been told that financial freedom requires massive amounts of wealth, that you need $1 million before your life can actually change. And that's just wrong. Not because $1 million wouldn't be great, but because it's made you ignore the number that would actually transform your life right now, today. Not in 20 years when you've somehow saved $1 million, but in the next 12 to 18 months, if you focus on the right target, that number is $10,000. Not in investments, not in assets, not in your retirement account that you can't touch without penalties. $10,000 in cash, liquid, accessible, boring money that sits in a savings account doing almost nothing except changing absolutely everything about how you think, decide, sleep, and navigate your life. I know what you're thinking. $10,000 isn't wealth. It won't let you quit your job. It won't buy you a house. It won't generate enough passive income to matter. And you're right, it won't. But here's what it will do. It will take you out of the game you've been losing and put you into a game you can actually win. Let me explain what I mean. Right now, you're playing defense. Every dollar you earn is immediately spoken for. Rent, bills, food, transportation, insurance, debt payments. You're not building anything, you're maintaining. And the cruel thing about maintenance mode is that one unexpected expense, just one, can knock you backward. A medical bill, a car repair, a sudden rent increase. You're not losing because you're bad with money. You're losing because you have no buffer. And without a buffer, you can't ever get ahead. You're just running in place, hoping nothing breaks. $1 million is a fence. It's investing, compound interest, passive income, wealth building. But you can't play offense when you're still playing defense. You can't think about growing wealth when you're still trying to survive the week. The $1 million conversation is the wrong conversation for someone who doesn't have 10,000. It's not just premature, it's damaging, because it makes you feel like you're so far behind that there's no point in starting. $10,000 is different. It's the number that gets you off defense. It's the bridge between survival and strategy. It's not the finish line, it's the starting line, but it's the only starting line that actually matters. Here's what your brain is doing before you have this money. You are in threat mode, constantly. Your amygdala, the part of your brain that detects danger, is running the show, and it's exhausting. Every financial decision triggers a micro-assessment of risk. Can I afford this? What if something happens? What if I lose my income? What if the car breaks down? What if? You're not planning for the future, you're bracing for disaster. And that's not a character flaw, that's a rational response to living without margin. When you're in this mode, you make expensive decisions. You pay overdraft fees because you miscalculated by $40. You pay interest on credit cards because you couldn't pay the full balance. You stay at jobs that underpay you because you can't afford the risk of leaving. You say yes to things you should say no to because you need the money now, even if it costs you more later. Financially, emotionally, physically, scarcity makes you expensive. It traps you in patterns that keep you exactly where you are. And here's the thing that nobody talks about. You can't budget your way out of this. You can't side hustle your way out. You can't willpower your way out. Not while you're still in threat mode, because your brain is using all of its cognitive resources just to manage the fear. Studies have shown this. Financial stress reduces cognitive function. It lowers your IQ temporarily. It impairs decision-making, memory, and problem solving. You're not operating at full capacity. You're operating from a deficit and then wondering why you can't seem to get ahead. $10,000 turns the alarm off, not permanently, but long enough for you to think clearly, long enough to make one good decision instead of 10 desperate ones. Because $10,000 covers 6 months of minimal expenses, not your lifestyle, not comfort, just survival, rent, food, utilities, the basics. And 6 months is the magic number where your brain stops treating financial problems as emergencies and starts treating them as solvable challenges. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Before $10,000, someone offers you a job that pays 15% more than you're making now. You take it. Obviously, even if the commute is worse, even if the culture is toxic, even if it's a dead-end role, because 15% is 15%, and you need the money. After $10,000, you can pause, you can evaluate, you can ask, is this actually a better opportunity, or just a better salary? Does this move me forward, or just sideways? And if the answer is sideways, you can say no. because you have time to find something better. That's leverage, not power, not wealth, just the basic leverage of being able to walk away from a bad deal. And the moment you have that leverage, everything tilts in your direction. Employers sense it, landlords sense it, everyone you negotiate with senses it. You're not desperate, you're choosing, and people treat you better when you're choosing. Here's what else changes. You stop living in reaction mode. Before 10,000, life happens to you. Your car breaks down, so you scramble. Your hours get cut, so you panic. Your rent goes up, so you figure it out somehow. You're always responding to the crisis in front of you. There's no time to plan because you're too busy putting out fires. After 10,000, you shift from reactive to proactive. The car breaks down, and it's annoying, but you handle it. Your hours get cut, and you start looking for something better instead of panicking. Your rent goes up, and you decide whether this place is still worth it or if it's time to move. Same events, different responses. The difference is that you have space between the stimulus and the reaction, and in that space, you get to choose how you respond, instead of just surviving however you can. Let's talk about why $1 million doesn't solve this. Because theoretically, if you had $1 million, you'd have way more than 6 months of expenses. You'd have years, decades, maybe. But here's the problem. You don't have $1 million, and you won't. Not for a long time. And in the meantime, while you're chasing that impossible number, you're still living in threat mode. You're still making expensive decisions. You're still trapped in the patterns that keep you stuck. The $1 million goal isn't motivating you. It's paralyzing you. 10,000 is different because it's achievable. If you make 40,000 a year and you save aggressively, you can get there in a year, maybe 18 months. If you make more, it's faster. If you make less, it's slower. But it's still possible. It's close enough to see, close enough to believe in. And that belief matters, because you're not going to save for 10 years toward a goal that feels fictional, but you will save for 12 months toward a goal that feels real. And here's what happens once you hit it. You don't stop. That's the secret. The first 10,000 is the hardest because you're building it from threat mode. Every dollar you save feels like a sacrifice because you're already stretched thin. But after you cross 10,000, something shifts. You've proven to yourself that you can do this. You've become someone who saves money, not someone who's trying to save, someone who does. And that identity change makes the next 10,000 easier, and the one after that even easier. The path to $1 million doesn't start with investing. It doesn't start with passive income or real estate or crypto or any of the things people are trying to sell you. It starts with $10,000 in cash, because that's what gives you the stability to think long-term. That's what gives you the margin to make smart decisions instead of desperate ones. That's what transforms you from someone who's barely hanging on to someone who's actively building. Here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying $10,000 makes you rich. I'm not saying it solves all your problems. I'm not saying you should stop there and declare victory. What I'm saying is that $10,000 is the foundation, and you can't build anything lasting without a foundation. You can't invest wisely when you're one bad month away from catastrophe. You can't think about retirement when you're worried about next week. You can't build wealth when you're still trying to build stability. Most people skip this step. They hear about investing and they start throwing money at the stock market before they have an emergency fund. Or they focus on paying off debt while having no cushion, so the next emergency just creates more debt. Or they chase higher income without addressing the spending and saving habits that keep them stuck. And none of it works. Not because the advice is wrong, but because they're trying to play offense while they're still getting crushed on defense. $10,000 gets you off defense. That's all it does. But that's everything. Because once you're off defense, you can actually start building. You can invest without panic selling when the market drops. You can pay off debt strategically instead of desperately. You can increase your income and actually keep some of it instead of watching it evaporate into the same old patterns. Let me tell you what this looks like emotionally, because that's what really matters. Before 10,000, there's this background hum of anxiety that never goes away. It's there when you wake up. It's there when you're trying to fall asleep. It's there when you're at work, when you're with friends, when you're trying to enjoy anything. It's just always there. This low-frequency dread that something is going to go wrong and you won't be able to handle it. You're not catastrophizing. You're being realistic. Because for you, something going wrong actually is a catastrophe. After 10,000, the hum quiets. Not completely, but enough that you can hear yourself think. Enough that you can be present. Enough that you can enjoy a meal without mentally calculating whether you can afford it. Enough that you can sleep through the night without waking up at 3 a.m. to run through your budget in your head. The relief is physical. Your shoulders relax. Your jaw unclenches. Your nervous system gets a break from the constant state of alert, and that changes how you show up in every area of your life. You're more patient with your kids because you're not constantly stressed. You're more present with your partner because you're not mentally somewhere else worrying about money. You're more creative at work because your brain has bandwidth for something other than survival. You're more generous with friends because you can actually afford to be. You're more yourself, the version of you that isn't being crushed by financial pressure. This is why $10,000 matters more than $1 million. If Because $1 million is theoretical, it's someday, it's after you've done everything right for decades. But $10,000 is soon, it's achievable, it's the difference between the life you're living now and a life where you can breathe. And breathing matters more than being rich. Here's the hard part. Getting there requires you to become someone different. Someone who says no to things they want. Someone who makes boring, unglamorous choices every day for months. Someone who delays gratification in a world that's screaming at you to buy now, enjoy now, live now. It requires you to act like someone who has $10,000 saved before you actually have it. And that's uncomfortable. It feels fake, like you're pretending to be someone you're not. But that's exactly the point. You're not pretending. You're becoming. Every time you choose saving over spending, you're not depriving yourself. You're casting a vote for the person you're trying to become. And eventually enough votes pile up that you actually are that person. The money is just the evidence. The real transformation is internal. Once you cross 10,000, you can start thinking about 1 million. You can start investing. You can start building passive income. You can start playing the long game. But not before. Because trying to build wealth without stability is like trying to build a house without a foundation. It doesn't matter how nice the house is. It's going to collapse. So forget the million for now. It's not that it doesn't matter. It's that it doesn't matter yet. What matters is the 10,000. The achievable, unglamorous, life-changing 10,000. The number that takes you from surviving to building, from reacting to choosing, from threat mode to human mode. You don't need $1 million to change your life. You need 10,000. And you need to start today. Not because it's exciting, not because it's glamorous, but because it's the only number that actually matters right now. Everything else is just noise. Get the 10,000. Then we can talk about the million.